Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to, of course, acknowledge the principal of the school board, the manager, and the newly elected president, and all the other guests that are here, the parents, the students, I understand, the former principal of the school, and various other invited guests. I do not intend to make a long speech, but I just wanted to make a few comments in respect of the prize giving itself. As you know, the annual prize giving is always a very momentous occasion in the school calendar year where children or students who in fact have excelled in their studies are acknowledged publicly, where they are given prizes, and where of course the parents and family members get to participate in a particular ceremony. But it is actually not only about them, it's also about the parents, the support they've given to them. It's about the teachers that provided the particular learning environment in which the students have been able to excel. And it's also about those students who have not necessarily won the prize, but they have also tried their hardest to be able to do as well as they can. The prize giving this year, of course, is very different to all the other years. It's being done in the month of April, where normally prize giving is done at the end of the year. And this brings us to the point about the pandemic. The pandemic, of course, really, threw a spanner in the works, so to speak. In a 100-year event, borders were closed. We weren't able to interact as we normally did or as we normally could. We had lockdowns. We had wearing masks. We had people who could not actually go to work. Over 100,000 Fijians actually lost their jobs. Government revenue was cut in half by 50% overnight. We lost the $2 billion tourism industry, which had a huge impact on government's ability to provide assistance to ordinary Fijians. And of course, the learning environment changed significantly. For the first time, we had students having to learn from home, students having to access digital learning, not necessarily by choice, but in fact, as a matter of enforcement or as a matter of need to do so because schools weren't open at all. In all of this, of course, the students were expected to perform, they expected to learn, expected to gain knowledge. The teachers were expected to communicate with them, to be able to provide this particular teaching services to them. And all of this, of course, proved a challenge to everybody. So it is under that extenuating circumstances that today we have this prize giving ceremony here. And therefore, I'd like to acknowledge the teachers, the principal, the school management, the students, and the parents for persevering to reach this stage, persevering to actually complete the full year of study, persevering to pass the exams. Some of you, of course, were doing external exams, and to be able to get across the line in that respect. Government, of course, acknowledges the fact that we have had a very severe and a very strenuous past 2.5 years or so. In that, we've been able to get out of the situation fundamentally because over 90% of the adult population is now fully vaccinated. We have one of the highest rates of vaccination in the developing world itself. As a result of all of you here in this room who have been vaccinated, fully vaccinated, and we've been able to open up our borders. The economy is now gained rapid growth compared to what it was previously. The borders are now open. We now no longer have, as announced last week in the budget, masking is no longer a compulsion. It's more of a choice. Very soon, the 3-day requirement to stay in the hotels by friends and families and tourists visiting Fiji will also be removed altogether. We also no longer have the social distancing requirements, so you can go to the temples and the churches and the mosques and various other, and large gathering environments such as this without having to maintain those social distancing. All of this has been possible because we as a nation had a fundamental approach to ensuring that we protect ourselves against COVID-19 by getting vaccinated. And remember, the vaccination is not just only about protecting yourself or your family or your community or your nation, your country, but also about how other people perceive us. Do people see us as a safe country to travel to? Because if they see that high rates of vaccination does exist, therefore they'll feel a lot more comfortable to travel to Fiji. And as a result of that, of course, we can see the tourism sector coming back to the fore. I wanted to take this opportunity to highlight, not just to the parents, but also to the students, that the pandemic, in fact, has really changed a lot of dynamics that exist within our society and even globally. Job prospects in certain areas are not as good as others. There are huge job growth opportunities in other areas that traditionally did not exist. How we view learning, how we view education, how we view our social interactions has changed dramatically. We've all seen also, of course, the price of things go up. Basic food items, a lot of the other items that we use, even things like mobile phones, will all increase in cost. All of it is a result of the pandemic. The pandemic, as you know, shut down many countries globally. Borders were shut down. Supply chains were affected. Freight costs is now, for example, a container that used to cost about $5,500 from New Zealand to come to Fiji is now costing in excess of $15,000. So people who will be bringing in those goods will pass on those goods to the consumers. The war in Ukraine, of course, has affected and put a lot of pressure on the pricing regarding fuel. A barrel a barrel of oil, US dollars, cost about $30 during the pandemic, in the early days of the pandemic. Today, the same barrel of fuel costs $140 US dollars. So things have changed dramatically. Government, of course, through the budget, has announced a number of initiatives. So 21 items, the VAT has been completely removed. We've had a number of other incentives. For example, the 20 cents levy on fuel has been also removed. But more importantly for the students too, we have announced that those who are wishing to attend universities will no longer have to have the 280 marks to actually attend university to be eligible for TELs or toppers. Toppers, of course, is its own category of marks, but most certainly for the TEL students, you only need to get 250 and then you'll be eligible for TELs if you want to go to university. And also at the same time, if you don't want to go to university, but you want to follow what we call a TVET course, a vocational course, there's 5,000 places available through the Fijian National University where you as students can also pursue those vocational courses. So we constantly have been remodeling through this, in particular through this budget, to provide opportunities for ordinary Fijians. I'd like to urge those students in particular who are graduating, please choose a career, a profession, a trade, or a skill that you actually feel passionate about. Don't choose something that somebody else tells you to do, but you don't feel passionate about. Because the fundamental lesson in life is this. If you pursue a career, if you pursue a profession that you actually wholeheartedly want to pursue and you feel passionate about, you will always excel in that profession. If you want to be a carpenter, if you really feel passionate about that, you'll be a bloody good carpenter. If you want to become a doctor and that's your passion, if you pursue that, you'll be a damn good doctor. If you want to pursue any profession, you should pursue the profession that you feel passionate about. No job, no profession, no skill is as less important as the other one. Everybody is as important as the person next to them. Remember, there's a fundamental value in life. As we're equal citizens, we have, of course, have equal rights. As human beings in the eyes of God, we're all seen as equal. We're all God's children. In the same way, in the profession that you pursue, just because a friend of yours may become a doctor does not mean the other friend who's become a carpenter or has become a is mechanical engineering or does mechanics is any less than the person who's become the doctor. You remember the doctor will require the car to be fixed also. In the same way that the mechanic will require a doctor to be able to go to them they don't feel well. So please pursue a career that you feel passionate about. The teachers, of course, have brought you to a particular stage where you need to be able to now stand on your own feet. You need to be able to pursue that career that you feel that you can actually contribute not just to yourself, to your families, but also to the community as a whole. So, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, there's of course lots that we can talk about in respect of what we have announced in the budget, but I'd like to reserve that for the Talanoa session. I'd like to thank the principal for obviously his dedication. It's quite apparent in his report that he's very much passionate about the school. He's very much passionate about improving the quality of education in the school. And we need to be able to ensure that the school management, the school board provides that environment, which obviously they are doing so. And there's a collaborative approach. The students, the teachers, the management we can ensure that Baulevu School, of course, will continue to have a very long and successful life as a school that provides education to this particular community. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for the invitation, and I wish you all a very good morning. Thank you.